Hello, my name is Brice Delsaut. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at Université Libre de Bruxelles. My presentation is about the influence of the silicate modulus on the early age volume change and heat release of slag and fly ash paste activated by sodium hydroxide and sodium silicate. This work was performed in the frame of the master thesis of Julie Gamba-Corta and was supervised by Stéphanie Staquet and myself. So the use of such material as alkali activated material is interesting in the fact that the production of ordinary Portland cement represents between 5 and 8% of the global anthropogenic CO2 emission. And a way to reduce this emission is to replace this ordinary Portland cement by other products, such as supplementary cementitious material, such as fly ash, slag, and other composites. So such material, the precursor, need an alkaline activator solution to react and to solidify, to then be an alkali activated paste. So those materials were already studied in the past, and several advantages were observed, as at early age a low rate of heat release, higher rate of strength development. And for hardened state, it was observed generally that the pore structure was finer, which led to a lower permeability and a higher resistance to chemical attack and fire. But also some drawbacks were observed, as a quick setting time, low workability, and high volume change. So those volume change, if they're restrained, will lead to cracking. To define how if there is a risk of cracking or not, we need to know how this material deform, and we need in seal condition to know the evolution of the autogenous deformation and the thermal strain. Thermal strain are function of the coefficient of thermal expansion and the evolution of the temperature. Based on both parameters, we can define the free deformation, and then by knowing the evolution of the elastic modulus and the creep properties and relaxation, we can define the evolution of the stress in case of restraint of the free deformation. Then based on the tensile strength evolution, it's possible to define if there is a risk of cracking or not. This study is performed in the frame of the Interact project. So it's a project where we study the solidification process in Leuven, the rheology in Ghent, the volume stability and the mechanical behavior at ULB, and the multi-scale modeling is performed at Vienne. So it's quite important project. And here this presentation is related to the volume stability package, for which we are interested about the autogenous shrinkage, but also the coefficient of thermal expansion. So the objective of this study is to define the influence of the silicate modulus on AAM, and also to identify the mechanism involved in the development of the autogenous shrinkage. To do that, we have used as a precursor slag and fly ash, 50% each, for the activator sodium silicate and sodium hydroxide. And we work at constant solution to binder ratio, 0.55, and the silicate modulus vary between 1.04 and 1.58. So the test performed was isothermal calorimetry at 3 temperature to define the heat release and the apparent activation energy. The autogenous strain and the coefficient of thermal expansion was defined by a second test, and the internal relativity was also monitored. The monitoring of the autogenous strain and the CTE, we use the auto-shrink device developed by Jensen and Hansen, but we had some extension to this device by using a convolution system which surrounded the device in order to control the temperature, and also we record the temperature in the sample and around the sample to know the thermal properties of the material. So during the test, we apply thermal variation of plus minus 3 degrees. The general temperature is 20 degrees. And based on this evolution for this test protocol, we have this evolution of the temperature and the strain in the material. So in case of hardened material, we don't need to consider the autogenous deformation, and the coefficient of thermal expansion is can be directly defined. But in case of hardening material, it's not so easy, as we need to do a decoupling between both parameters, thermal strain and autogenous deformation. To do so, we extrapolate the result obtained at 20 degrees to simulate a curve at 20 degrees, which make two set of data at the end, one at 20 degrees, one with thermal variation. And as we have these two sets of data, it's possible to define the CTE first and then the autogenous deformation. Then we can define the isothermal the heat release, for mixture first at 20 degrees. We can observe that if we increase the silicate modulus, that's delay the evolution of the heat release, and also the final amplitude is lower when using higher silicate modulus. We observe the same result at 10 degrees and 30 degrees. When using these three temperatures, it's possible to define the apparent activation energy for each composition. For that, we use the Arrhenius law, in which we need to define the activation energy, the apparent activation energy. So we optimize this parameter to obtain a good fitting between the three results, the three temperature, as here. And we've done that for the four composition, and you can see that we have generally a value around 75 kJ per mole, which seems not dependent of the silicate modulus, and also this value is quite high in comparison to OPC, so that means that those materials are very sensitive to the temperature during the curing. For the autogenous strain, so we can see also that the silicate modulus influence the result. The amplitude after 2 weeks, it's between 4 and 5 millimeters per meter, and we can see that for higher silicate modulus, we have lower autogenous deformation. This is due to the fact that for lower silicate modulus, we increase the sodium hydroxide content, which lead to a higher development of the autogenous shrinkage. In order to understand this development of the autogenous shrinkage, we correlate this evolution to the heat release presented before, and we have observed that we have a linear relation between both parameters, which was not expected in comparison to OPC, but still here we can see that at the end the development of the autogenous strain is directly related to the reaction. Also, when comparing the slope of the different composition, when doing the correlation between the autogenous strain and the heat release, we can see that this slope change according to the MS modulus, and we can see that we have a minimal slope value, which means less shrinkage for a certain reaction process when for MS modulus of 144 here. For the coefficient of thermal expansion, we can see that it depends also strongly on the silicate modulus. For this, to compare it, we can separate this evolution in 4 stages. The first one is not defined here, as it occurred during the first minute or first hour after casting. But when the material is liquid, the CTE is very high. Then when the material starts to set, we have a very low value of the CTE, which is lower than 5 microstrain per degree Celsius. Then, during the hardening process, we have an increase of the CTE till a maximal value, which can be here 65 microstrain per degree Celsius. So it's more than the double than what we obtain on OPC. And this maxima depend on the silicate modulus. For lower silicate modulus, we have higher CTE. Then we have a 4th stage where we can see that we have a significant decrease of the CTE, which seems to, at the end, correspond more to OPC material with something around between 30 and 40 microstrain per degree Celsius. For the understanding of the autogenous shrinkage measurement, we have done also internal relative humidity measurement, and it was observed here that the relative humidity is quite high during the test. We don't see a significant decrease. When we do a zoom on the data, we can see that after 2 days, the internal relative humidity is around 94%, and then first increase. This can be due to the consumption of the iron due to the slag at early age. But later we can see that for some composition it decreased, for the other it increased. This can be due to the influence of the slag and fly ash separately. So the slag normally decrease the internal relative humidity due to the capillary pore formation, and the fly ash the water will be released during this polymerization and lead to an increase of the internal relative humidity. So we have both effects simultaneously will lead to mitigating effects. So that's why the value stays so high. In conclusion, so this work studied the influence of the silicate modulus on the change of alkali activated slag fly ash mixture. So observe that the apparent activation energy doesn't depend on this parameter and is 2 times higher than OPC. A linear relation was observed between the heat release and the autogenous strain, which this suggests that one main reaction mechanism is related to the development of the autogenous shrinkage and is related to the reaction process. Also, it is observed that the CT is function of this silicate modulus and is significantly higher than OPC, especially at early age. And for the internal relative humidity, a mitigating effect is observed between the fly ash and the slag, which make the conclusion quite complicated here when comparing the result to the autogenous shrinkage. Also, further investigation are needed to understand those physical mechanisms related to the volume change of alkali activated slag and fly ash mixture. So another step will be to study the chemical shrinkage, capillary pressure, and the pore size distribution. Also, we work at 20 degrees. It will be interesting to extend this work to different curing temperature and realistic temperature. And also, we work with several materials, 2 precursor, 2 activator. It will be interesting to use other composition which less parameters, so like for example slag and sodium hydroxide. I thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate.